Lieutenant General Richard Newton, former Assistant Vice Chief of Staff for the U.S. Air Force, joining us now with more on this. One example is that a lot of military recruitment happens in high schools, but that didn't happen when schools switched to remote learning in the pandemic. So can you talk a little bit more about how people they don't see members of the military in public as much anymore?
Well, good morning, Adrian. It's good to be back with you. Nick nailed it on his piece, and my fellow veteran there, I think, really shows the data needs to speak to us, not only here on air, but also at the national level. We've had an all-volunteer force since 1973. We're now reaching the point, and senior military officials testified last week in the Senate that this will be the most challenging recruiting year ever in 2022. And you're right, it's a national issue. It's not just a local issue or in Texas or Florida, but it's a national issue. The pool of those who we need to recruit and retain, frankly, in the military is shrinking as well. And so it could be a matter of their physical fitness. It could be, and by the way, that's code word for obesity in American youth. It could also be due to criminal activity, drug issues, and so forth, lack of a high school diploma. But it's also, and Nick kind of alluded this, is where are the influencers in these young people's lives to get them compelled to think about to serve in the United States military?
But 77% of, I believe, ages 18 or 17-year-olds to 24-year-olds would be ineligible, would need a waiver in order to actually get into the military right now because of all those concerns that you spoke about. So wouldn't you say that this is more of a cultural issue? It's not just whether or not it seems appealing to get into the military, but if you can't even play, if you can't even make it to the field to train, wouldn't that start a lot younger?
It would. It's a societal issue. It's a U.S. national security issue. And I, for a period of time, I oversaw the United States Air Force HR, and I testified in the House and the Senate on a number of times. Back in the day, say in 2010, 12, and so forth, our recruiting pool was about 29% of American youth between the ages of 18 and 25. Now that number is down to 23%, according to the U.S. Army Chief of Staff. And so this is a national security issue, Adrian. We need to have a fresh look at, in terms of not only how we recruit on the national scale, but in terms of the pay and benefits, in terms of making sure their loved ones and their family members are taken care of, in terms of going into communities where we've never gone before, rather than doing it in stovepipe, department by department efforts. And so this is something that not only we need to target the individuals who we're trying to recruit, but also their influences, their moms and dads, their grandparents, their coaches, their pastors, and so forth. And we need to get in the schools, as you alluded to in the question, in our high schools especially. We need to inform the American youth and their influencers that serving in the United States military is a great thing. And that they will be part of the national treasure, as President Biden alluded to, and that they need to come join that team, and they will be well paid, they'll be well taken care of, they'll be well led, and the fact that they will also start a life where they'll have opportunities for college, a skill set, and so forth that will really set them for life, but will also do great things for this nation.
Well, there may be a disconnect among this generation in seeing the military as peacekeepers versus seeing people who are in the military as, tools of war. But are you so concerned about current troop levels that potentially you could see the U.S. reinstating a draft?
No, I don't think we'll go there. And I don't think in my lifetime I foresee a draft opportunity. Of course, never say never. But one thing that the Chief of Staff of the United States Army stated in Senate testimony last week is that the Army is going to have to downsize to less than 12,000 soldiers of their goal for starting in 2022 into 2023. That's significant. That should be a wake-up call to our nation, not only in terms of our national security leaders, but our members of Congress, both in the House and Senate, to start doing something about this. Again, this is a national security issue that goes across the whole pale of the United States, but it also starts at home in terms of fitness. Again, obesity in our youth is, my number says there's 21% of our youth in the population between 16 and 25 years old are obese. And the fact that we can't even get them in the United States military because of their physical fitness and their standards.
Yeah.
So it's not just the military recruiting aspect. As you said, it's culturally, it's societally, it's across the entire United States enterprise.
And we might need to start with healthier habits at a younger age if we are going to have that national security that you're talking about. Lieutenant General Richard Newton. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.